Coming up on News 2, have election board members and staff been subpoenaed? We have an update you don't want to miss, and the latest Crimestoppers report on how you can help police solve some of the latest crimes. Plus, everything is back to normal at Cabrita Point's Salt Pond, which has its usual brown coloring, but a month ago, it was a much different color, the color pink. Hello, welcome, and thank you for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gumansing. Top in this newscast, several election board members went into the Attorney General's office Thursday to give testimony regarding the 2012 election investigation. As News 2 previously reported, on November 12th, VI Attorney General Vincent Frazier called for an investigation to look over voter complaints from the 2012 election cycle. News 2's Erica Bivens received a copy of that subpoena and has this update.
News 2 first brought you the story on November 12th when Attorney General Vincent Frazier stated he convened a panel to look into voter complaints from the 2012 election cycle. In that statement, it says Frazier expects a formal report of the panel's findings by the end of the month. However, News 2 received a copy of a subpoena which was issued by the AG's office to Elections Board Vice Chair Wilma Marsh Monsanto. Monsanto only received the subpoena Tuesday and was scheduled to appear 2 days later.
I was subpoenaed, as was, I would assume, many other of the board members, to appear today.
Calls to the AG's office yesterday and again today to speak with any of the panelists were not returned by news time. However, some people are still concerned the AG is conducting an investigation on the Board of Elections, saying it's a conflict of interest.
He's supposed to look after the interest of the people, but there's a conflict because he's supposed to represent the boards of election.
Dr. Eddie Donahue's 14-page letter to the Attorney General states his concerns, in addition to listing a number of other issues he says were also conflict of interest charges that make it unlikely we'll receive an impartial investigation.
But right is right, and you can't have an Attorney General acting the way he did and trying now, in my view, to cover it by subpoenaing the documents and the people who were involved.
News 2 called Attorney General Frazier for a response to Dr. Donahue's letter, but was told he is currently out of the territory. Meanwhile, Monsanto says she's keeping an open mind.
Hoping and praying that the 5 attorneys would do justice where justice is due.
For News 2, I'm Erica Bivens.
Monsanto said she saw other board members coming and going from the AG's office while she was there. She also stated her meeting lasted about 2.5 hours, but that it went well. News 2 will keep you posted on any updates. Crimestoppers empowers you to make your neighborhoods, schools, and businesses safer by reporting information while remaining anonymous. Remember, even the smallest bit of information may be just what is needed to identify and arrest criminals. Here's this week's Crimestoppers report. Police say on St. Croix during the evening of Friday, November 23rd, Champs Sports Store in Sunny Isles was robbed. When the suspects left the store, they encountered police officers. The suspects opened fire and a bullet struck an officer, Officer Amelie Lockhart, in his left foot. If you have any information regarding this latest robbery and police shooting, please call. Meanwhile, police say on Saturday, November 17th, while walking in the area of Grunwald, a man was assaulted and robbed by 2 males that pulled alongside him in a black Jeep. He was struck in the temple, causing him to black out for a while. While unconscious, the thugs robbed him of his BlackBerry cell phone, his Gucci chain, and $220 in cash. The stolen items were valued at $1,200. On St. Thomas, on Saturday, November 10th, in the area of Havenside, a man was assaulted by 3 unknown males. He was beaten and robbed of several items that are valued at $2,580. Police say items stolen were a John Hardy bracelet, an iPhone 4S with an OtterBox phone case, and the key to his Jeep Liberty. The minimum cash reward for the arrest of a burglar is $714 plus 10% of the retail value of property recovered. The maximum reward is $2,500. Be part of the solution. Submit information on these or any other crimes at www.crimestoppersusvi.org, or you can call 1-800-222-TIPS. That's 1-800-222-8477, or by texting USVI plus your message to crimes 274637. You can also help by contributing to the Crimestoppers Reward Fund. For details, please go to the website at www.crimestoppersusvi.org and click on Support Us. 16 firefighters in the St. Thomas-St. John district began a specialized training this week in emergency medical technician courses. The training is in partnership with the Department of Health and EMS. Acting Director of the Virgin Islands Fire Service, Darryl George, said this is an intense 4-month training program that will help improve fire personnel's skills as first responders to help better prepare them to assist in the event of an emergency and in the care of and medical treatment of victims and patients. On St. Croix, a smaller class of firefighters began their 4-month training class several months ago and is almost completed. If you are Haitian national living in the United States under temporary protected status, you only have until Friday to renew that status. VI Delegate to Congress Donna Christensen is reminding Haitian beneficiaries that they need to re-register by November 30th in order to keep their TPS. News2's Erica Parsons has more on the story.
The temporary protected status for Haitian nationals is expiring Friday, so beneficiaries need to re-register by November 30th. The benefits were first offered when Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano designated Haiti for TPS on January 21, 2010, after major earthquakes devastated the island nation. Now the TPS has been extended through July 22, 2014, and Haitian beneficiaries who've been continuously living in the U.S. since 2011 must re-register by tomorrow. TPS is designated when conditions in a country temporarily prevents those citizens from returning safely or when the country is unable to handle the return of its nationals adequately. News 2 was unsuccessful in speaking to Immigration Services Thursday, but Aisha Duval from the delegate's office says it's important to re-register for TPS.
One of the things that may happen would be their work authorization documents would be revoked. That would be one reason why they definitely should renew it.
Duval did say that information should be confirmed with Immigration Services. Individuals who haven't continuously lived in the U.S. since January 12, 2011 won't be eligible. Erica Parsons, News 2.
Individuals who've never been given TPS may be eligible to file a late initial application. For more information, you can visit www.uscis.gov/TPS. Well, thinking more and more about starting up your own business, opportunity knocks in the form of all the information you may need. The Starting a Business in the Virgin Islands 4-hour workshop. Topics will include writing a business plan, legal structure options, local rules, and licensing requirements. It aims to provide the nuts and bolts and beyond. The next workshop is this Friday, November 30th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on St. Thomas. It's at the SBDC Training Facility at Niski Center. And then Saturday, December 8th from 9 to 1 on St. Croix at the SBDC Training Facility at Scion Farm. You can register online at www.sbdcvi.org. During a teleconference Thursday, Congresswoman Donna Christensen told local reporters that it's still unclear whether or not Congress would reach an agreement by January 2nd to avoid going over the fiscal cliff. That's when certain tax credits could expire and spending would have to be cut. After that, sequestration kicks in, which says an additional $1.2 trillion needs to be cut from the federal budget. While Delegate Christensen couldn't give specific numbers relating to the territory, she said there would be a lot of areas affected, like military construction projects, federal prisons and judiciaries, and Head Start programs, for example.
All veterans programs, however, are exempt from sequestration. At a time also now when we're working with the Department of Homeland Security to get more assets to help keep guns and drugs out of the territory and to fight violent crime, the Department of Homeland Security could lose up to 3,400 Border Patrol agents, 3,400 Customs and Border Patrol officers, 7,403 Coast Guard personnel, 932 ICE officers, 7,240 TSA officers, as well as other personnel, which would total over 24,000 in all.
Meanwhile, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid says Democrats are still waiting for a reasonable proposal from Republican lawmakers to resolve the stalemate over the so-called fiscal cliff. Speaking to reporters on Capitol Hill Thursday, Reid said Republicans need to put forward a proposal. Earlier Thursday, House Speaker John Boehner met with Treasury Secretary Timothy Geithner and came out of the meeting saying he was disappointed with the lack of progress in the negotiations.
We're not going to kick the can down the road. We're going to finalize this year. This is no time for delay. The American people want us to avoid the fiscal cliff with a balanced approach, and they want us to do it right now.
Mitt Romney sat down with his campaign rival, President Obama, today. The two men are had lunch, and are expected to talk about the issues they debated during the campaign. Tara Marginer has the latest from the White House.
Mitt Romney's visit to the White House marks the first time he's met with President Obama since the two faced off on the campaign trail.
I had a question, and the question was, how much did you cut them by?
You want me to answer
How much did you cut them by?
Today's private lunch is expected to have a friendlier tone. President Obama first mentioned a meeting during his acceptance speech.
I also look forward to sitting down with Governor Romney to talk about where we can work together to move this country forward.
There's no specific agenda on the menu. The White House only says the president wants to hear Governor Romney's ideas on how to make the government more efficient.
The president does not have a specific assignment in mind for the governor. He looks forward to discussing with Governor Romney a variety of issues.
President Obama and Mitt Romney are meeting alone in the White House's private dining room. The president's aides contacted Romney's team before Thanksgiving to schedule the lunch. A sit-down between the election's winner and loser is a tradition with mixed results. President Clinton and President Bush became friends after their meeting and would eventually work on humanitarian issues together. The meeting between Al Gore and the second President Bush was described as short and cordial. Both pundits and the public are skeptical anything will come out of today's visit.
It's just PR.
Today, no. But perhaps if they work together over time, they could find something that maybe this Congress can come to an agreement on.
There was some post-election speculation the president would offer Romney a role in his administration, but both camps have shot down that idea. Tara Mergener for CBS News, the White House.
And keeping our eye on the economy, 23,000 fewer Americans applied for unemployment benefits last week. It's the second straight drop after Superstorm Sandy pushed claims higher earlier this month. Applications for unemployment benefits fell the most in New York, California, and Pennsylvania. The economy grew faster than expected this summer at a rate of 2.7%. A new study shows that more than 29 million people started or ran a new business last year. That's a 60% gain from 2010. This is the New York Stock Exchange with Scotiabank Stock Market Watch. The Dow, Nasdaq, S&P all up. The Dow 36, Nasdaq 20, S&P 6. Coming up on News 2, for now it appears that everything is back to normal at Cabrita Point's salt pond, which has its usual brown coloring. But a month ago, it was a much different color, the color pink. Why the color change? Well, almost about a month, St. Thomas residents began noticing that a salt pond in Cabrita Point was drastically changing color and turning a bright pink. According to the Department of Planning and Natural Resources, untreated wastewater going into the salt pond is to blame, and they're preparing to give out violations. News2's Alswin Born-Finneck has that story.
For now, it appears that everything is back to normal at Cabrita Point Salt Pond, which has its usual brown coloring. But a month ago, it was a much different color, the color pink. According to the Department of Planning and Natural Resources, this was an algae situation.
It's actually the algae growth that's there, and in order for the algae to grow, it needs some form of nutrients. And the nutrients in this case would come from the wastewater treatment facility.
That wastewater and reverse osmosis plant is located just a few yards away from the pond. DPNR says that untreated wastewater was going into the pond, which turned it bright pink, and they made changes to correct that.
We relocated the irrigation system, which is what they should have done originally. Under normal circumstances, it would not be the case where this wastewater would be going into the pond, running off the edge and into the pond as usual. Basically, the treated or untreated wastewater is what caused this situation to begin with.
According to DPNR, the permit only allowed for reverse osmosis brine to be discharged into the pond and not the untreated wastewater. DPNR says it's currently in the process of holding the owners of this facility responsible. DPNR says that notices of violation are currently being drafted and will be given to the Marriott Vacation Club, who's the owner of the wastewater treatment plant and the reverse osmosis plant. And Cabrita Services, the management company that had the permit, will also be held responsible.
We're working on a notice of violation. It will likely go to Cabrita Services since the permit was issued to them. We did actually make a correction. We had it initially Cabrita Point condominiums, which we corrected it to Cabrita Services, which made the application. But we've learned subsequent to that also Marriott is the owner of the treatment facility.
Allison Bourne-Vanack, News 2.
News 2 called the Marriott Vacation Club for a response regarding its wastewater and RO facilities, but calls were not returned by News Time. According to the Department of Tourism, tourist arrivals were down this summer compared to last year because fewer cruise ships came to the territory. However, tourism officials say they are looking to a busy season and say more cruise ship calls are planned for the summer of 2013. However, air arrivals were up this summer compared to last summer, although it was not enough to offset cruise ship calls. Meanwhile, hotel occupancy was down in July and slightly up in August, according to the Economic Research Bureau. Well, remember, December 1st is World AIDS Day, and Hope Inc. will be holding their 2012 parade in recognition. It begins at 5 p.m. sharp at Hospital Stretch, and it ends at the CAHS field, where there would be a candlelight vigil. The Department of Health also has events lined up, which started last Sunday. Saturday is Wear Red Day, and that's from 10 to 3 p.m. There will be an exhibit set up at the Tutu Park Mall on St. Thomas, and 5 p.m. on St. Croix, a candlelight vigil at the Central Seventh-day Adventist Church will be held. And finally, one of the biggest highlights, a conference at UVI. That's from 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. The theme is putting the pieces of providing comprehensive care together for people living with HIV/AIDS. With the theme to bring new infections to zero, organizers have been holding HIV/AIDS awareness education, Q&As at various schools on St. Thomas, St. Croix, and St. John. And throughout the month, pop-ups have been featured on screen to educate moviegoers at the Caribbean cinemas territory-wide. Well, many are singing the Powerball blues. 2 tickets for the record-breaking Powerball jackpot, $587.5 million, were sold in Missouri and Arizona. The winning numbers were 5, 23, 16, 22, and 29, and the Powerball was 6. Missouri lottery officials say the winning ticket in that state was sold at a TrexMart store in Dearborn, about 30 miles north of Kansas City. The winning Arizona ticket was sold at the Four Sons food store in Fountain Hills State Lottery. The prize for the lottery, held in 42 states, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and the District of Columbia, swelled to the largest in Powerball history after the jackpot rolled over 16 times without a winner. Stick around, your News2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.